It's a beautiful day. So before I get too wet, I think I might go shopping for some art supplies. Yeah. There's all sorts of potential around here. Oh, it's not a bad one. I know what else there is. I have also managed to find some pine. So that might be good as well. Pine stick. It's not a bad one as well. Oh, it's a big stick. It's very, very wet out here. What am I doing out here? It's raining. Get out of here. So here I have my collection of burnt sticks, and I also have a lighter as well. So actually before I begin, I might just get down here and open up my window. There we go, to let the smoke out, because I'm going to set fire to these things and then see if I can draw them a bit like charcoal pencils. So I'll start off by using this pine twig. Go. Bit smoky. Oh yes, there's a good line there. Oh look, here we go, a nice flame. It's now gone out. Still a hot coal there. So I don't know whether it's actually just carbonizing the paper or it's kind of weird. Actually feels, it's a real nice smooth charcoal feeling. That's really nice. Wow. Shading. It's very soft. Okay, so pine actually works reasonably well, but I find that it often develops a nice thick coating, well not a nice thick coating, an annoying coating of ash on the top, because pine seems to turn to ash quite readily. So let's try, I'm going to put that aside, I'm going to try a bit of gum. This is a twig of a species of gum, and the wood on gum is quite flammable from memory, but it's also very dense as well. It doesn't light as easily. Okay, that's carbonized a little bit. It's not as nice as the pine stick. Phew. If I keep this up, my family will think I've taken up smoking or something. Well, it's getting usable. Okay, let's try a thicker piece of gum. This one here, which I've cut to a bit of a sharp point. Maybe this will set fire easier. Maybe not. Oh yes, it's actually on fire. It's a burning. I'll extinguish it. This one smells weird. It smells pretty smoky actually, this one. How long will it take till it stops glowing? Stop glowing. Yeah, come to think of it, every time I light a fire for the household wood stove, I always end up going for gum twigs because they just burn so readily. And they're so energy dense too. This is still glowing, just it's leaving behind a trace of ash. Okay, I'll put that aside, see if it catches my desk on fire, and I'll try another piece. I'll try going back to a different pine twig now. Pine seems to be best so far. Plus it's got this excellent knurling on it. It's fantastic, like little bumps and lumps that naturally sprout forth from the bark. So you have excellent grip. Starting to like these pine twigs. Oh yes, that's a light. See that pine sap burning out of it. Got a little blowtorch effect shooting out the end of it here, look at that. I need something to stop it from absorbing all the oxygen, so it'll just carbonize. That's probably what I really need to do. If I was to get pine twigs and then put them inside of, let's say, a tin, like if you got like a tin, a nice tin with a, oh, the hot coal broke off on the paper. Go away. Don't set me on fire. No, so if you got like a tin like this, for example, with a sealed off lid, and then put twigs inside, and then put that over the top of a campfire, and this isn't working too well. Oh, look at that. You could carbonize all the twigs inside the tin without exposing them to the oxygen. Okay, let's try a stick of gum this time. I'm giving gum another shot, but this time I'm going to sharpen the end of it with a little knife. I've got a nice fine point. Let's set that on fire. Oh well, that burns easily. Let's extinguish that. Now I'm going to dip it just in this little bottle, just to quickly extinguish the flame. I'll just dry that off. Okay, let's try that. Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, I could do some sketching with this. You know, this curved stick here is actually quite comfortable to hold. Why don't they make curved pens? Why are pens straight? Maybe it makes no difference. This process kind of reminds me of sharpening a pencil, except you're burning it instead. Okay, that's getting nice and black. Quick dip in the water, try it off. And I broke the charcoal while vigorously drying it off, but anyway. Oh, that is nice. That's nice and smooth. It's a nice smooth piece of charcoal. But it doesn't last very long. I really hope that the gas in this lighter is a lot cheaper than buying charcoal pencils. I really like the pine because it just makes a real soft charcoal. So I'm going to get rid of this bark, because I don't think it does me any good. Okay, my method is get rid of the bark, carbonize, very nice. And once I've got a good bit of carbon on there, I extinguish it. That is a free charcoal pencil, which barely works, and it broke. Man, it's not very good at all. Okay, the pine's too soft. I take it back. How am I going to make a video out of this? Who would watch such a thing? I'm making such a mess here. Okay, I'm trying a piece of gum now. Gum burns so well. Give it a dip in the dirty water. Oh, it broke again. But it's usable still. Now, how easy is this charcoal to erase? With, let's say, a kneadable eraser. Get rid of all this junk. Works to some extent. Oh, yeah. I can erase it. I think it's much like any other charcoal. Pretty dark and stubborn. Let's clean up a bit here, and I will begin to do a drawing. Using this method of... Oh, I've got a burn mark in my paper. That's not good. How far does that burn mark? Oh dear. The burn mark goes down a few pages. Okay, well, it's drawing time. I'm going to try and make a better drawing out of this terrible bunch of test scribbles I've done, I think. Okay, well, all I can say is congratulations. You have just spent the last 10 minutes of your life watching a man burn sticks on top of his desk. You must have a very low expectation for entertainment. But if you're entertained by the last 10 minutes, I can guarantee you're going to be entertained by the next 8 minutes or so. Because I'm going to be rambling about inconsequential nothings for the rest of this video, while you can watch this time-lapse of me drawing with these sticks. Now, you saw me earlier on in the video extinguishing the stick in a little pot of water. But I was quick to discover that I didn't actually need to dry off the stick after I had dipped it in the water, because the heat of the stick was actually hot enough to evaporate all the water out from the carbon that was left behind. So this whole process was actually more convenient than I expected. I just set fire to the stick, give it a quick dunk, which then extinguishes it, and then smell like a campfire for the whole drawing session. In fact, if you were around a campfire while you were drawing, that would be pretty handy, providing you were outside and not inside, because that would not be handy. Unless you lived in a teepee, then maybe that would be more acceptable, because then you could have a fire in the middle of the teepee. So I think for the entire drawing, if I can call it that, I basically went back to the pine stick, because I just found it the most easiest to use, really. It ignited easily, it extinguishes easily, has a very soft, smooth carbon that's left behind, and it's also got that excellent grip on it. The natural knurling of the pine bark. You can't get much better than that. I don't even know why people buy charcoal pencils, except for the fact that you don't want to set fire to your house. Okay, I can understand that part of it. And then also you can pick your charcoal hardness. That's also a handy feature. And the smoke alarms don't go off. That's also a handy feature. And your desk also doesn't look like a rat's nest of wood shavings and burnt sticks. I guess that's also a handy feature. And you don't burn holes in your paper. That's also a handy feature. Okay, well, I suppose there are some advantages. But if you're in a well-ventilated area and you've got a lighter, and maybe also a fireproof desk would be handy, why not just set fire to a few sticks instead? Just don't come to me when your sketchbook goes up in flames. So if you're wondering what I'm drawing, my answer is, I do not know. I think I've been watching a lot of Peter Draws recently, and all he does usually is doodle art. And I believe doodle art is basically a spontaneous, unplanned artwork. You just make it up as you go along. And that's what I ended up doing here. As you can eventually see, it just basically looks like the spilled intestinal tract of some kind of giant behemoth. I look at the thing and it's a hard thing to visually digest, but that's just what came up out of my charcoal. So, a bad builder always blames his tools. That's what I just did. Yes, well, looking at this artwork, I realize that it's a lot like Peter Draws. It's a very much so, as I just mentioned. In fact, I think I've pushed it a bit too far in that direction, almost to the point of parody, which was not my original intention. I'm sorry, Peter. I didn't mean to parodize your artwork. I love your videos. Don't hold it against me. And another thing I regret about this piece is that I wish I added a bit more to it afterwards and turned it into what looks like a museum exhibit. Maybe with people standing around it, taking photographs, a little plaque that says something along the lines of, "We just shoveled this freshly out of the archives just for your pleasure. Unknown sample from the Mariana Trench. It originally was a fish until we brought it to the surface. So overwhelmed by this new environment, it could no longer contain itself." That reminds me a bit of the blobfish. The blobfish is a deep sea fish which is known to look a bit like a pink jelly dessert with a big nose, but in its natural environment it actually looks more like a normal fish. It's just that its body is used to intense pressures, so by the time they bring it up to the surface, it becomes disgustingly disformed and rather miserable looking. There's a stage in this video where the lighting starts to get a bit dark because I forgot I didn't turn my lamp on, which is a bit silly of me, but I did eventually turn it on. Anyway, so there you go. You can draw with just about anything. That's the only point I'm trying to make, really. There's no more excuses. You can draw with a burnt stick now, quite effectively. Doesn't mean you'll draw well though, but that's not the stick's problem, I can assure you. I mean, the stick can't move itself. You can spend as much money as you like on a charcoal pencil, but at the end of the day, you are still the one moving it. Yep. There's a harsh reality for you. Sorry about that. Okay, try and end on a positive note. Okay. A positive note. A proton.